tricks on how to make Firefox work for you better and how to customize it for your own usages. All right. So let's get rid of the video. Whoop, there I go. So Microsoft Word. This is the first place we'll start, right? Always when you're taking notes, I always keep some sort of word processor open alongside your lessons like this. One of the tricks you can do is the Windows key down on the lower left hand of your screen. You push and hold that down, and then you do your arrow key. I have to actually be highlighted on it, so it's highlighted on there. Windows key arrow, and it just with Windows 7, it just pops over and fills the left hand side of your screen or the right hand side of your screen. And then you can also just adjust it a little bit better. So then you could just quickly flip back and forth between them. So I like to have both of these open, and then I have both spring and fall semesters enrolled here for Little Ben. We'll take a look at say we're working on communications, and of course all my classes are assigned just so I can see them a little better. So we're gonna start off with this introduction to communication, let's say, right? So here we are in icon communications. We're just doing our communications unit 1, and then I have this notation system right here, right? 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. What's going on here is that's like mini unit, unit 1, mini unit 1, unit 1, mini unit 2. And each one is broken up. And so then when we look at down here, it's unit 2, mini unit 1, unit 2, mini unit 2, right? Pretty obvious, but then we're in lesson number 3, number 4, number 5, and that's the easiest way to do it. So here in Firefox, if you press the Control button and then click and drag and highlight, you get this. You get to highlight the whole table. That only happens in Firefox. Doesn't happen in Internet Explorer or Chrome or Opera or any of those. Firefox is the only one that does that. Opera might, I don't know. But we're definitely just using Firefox while working with OdysseyWare. I've just encountered too many bugs with all of the other ones. So yeah, you're in my courses. You're right here. We're gonna take notes, and we're going into introduction to communication. I'm gonna highlight that right away. Control C. Come over here. Control V. And now I know I'm in 1.1.3 Introduction to Communication. And I like to use those carets. I think they're cool. And now we know where we're at with stuff, right? Now we know what we're taking notes on. We have this title. But it still says Document 1 up here. We need to save it as. So I'm going to slide this. We need to have a folder for your notes. You have a My Courses folder, hopefully, where you've saved all of your work. So let's have a My Notes folder, okay? And then within that My Notes folder, we're gonna have a folder for each one of our courses, communications, and then inside that communications folder, let's have another folder for Unit 1, okay? And then here in Unit 1. Now we'll be able to save. Then we come in here and we'll go to File, Save As, or the very first time you click this button to save it, it opens up this Save As dialog, right? And in Save As, you're saying where you save it, what it's being called, and what type of file type it is. So I want Intro to Communications. I want this to be called the whole thing, or 1.1.3. I was hoping it would just do that, but intro, something like that. And we're just going to save it as a Word document. That's fine. But where are we going to save it? We're going to save it in my notes, Communications Unit 1. Here we are, 1.1.3 intro. And now we are going to be able to quickly find this again when we need to, okay? So, all right, let's go ahead and dive into the actual course. All right. So as we look at this course, there's one thing that I want you to see right away as something that I want to put in your notes, because that's a real trick. What do we put in notes, right? Well, we can't just copy the whole thing and then paste it over. We don't want too much notes, because that's the problem. I mean, we could just come back to this. The point of notes is that you're getting just the important information out, just the information that you want to go back to and find again. Well, or the stuff that you want to remember later on, the stuff, because writing it down and looking at it is what's going to help you mark it in your brain as important. So right away, these objectives always going to be important. Okay, I would always put those into your notes. Because this is almost like part of the title. This is why we're here, what we're trying to get into our brain. Read those objectives. We're going to learn how to define this thing. We're going to learn how to describe that thing, right? Depending on if you're in English, it'll have different objectives and so on. Vocabulary, always going to be important. You're always going to get tested over this vocabulary. So Control C, and then in order to keep that table format, when we have two columns like that, we have to come to Special Paste and paste as unformatted text. Okay, and it still doesn't paste it totally perfect, so we're going to actually go through and clean it up a little bit. Just one space cleans it all the way up, and then maybe and then we're actually maybe even going to read that way. We're reading it as we go, and we're actually taking a look at these. We're definitely going to come back to vocabulary. That's going to be on every single, all of this is going to be in, and then Control U to underline it, or maybe we could even bold it. All right, formatting. I like to use the keyboard as much as I can and not have to go back and forth to the mouse. Knowing keyboard shortcuts will really speed you up, especially on a laptop, because you're just right there and you don't have to use your trackpad to come up here and into all the little menu bars. Okay, so now that we've got the objectives and vocabulary and the title, those are going to be in every lesson's note sheet. Okay, those are going to be in every single one. But when I go down here and look at this lesson, there's quite a bit of material. Like, how am I going to get this video into my notes, right? How am I going to get all? I can't take all of this information and put it into my notes. How do I know what I want to put in my notes? Well, let's use these questions to tell us what's important. What I like to do when I approach these lessons is, instead of reading this entire thing word for word and then coming down and trying to remember it and then taking the and then going through it question by question, what I like to do is scan the whole thing. Come right down, and I've copied the objectives and the vocabulary, and now I'm going to come in here and just do a scan. Okay, factor one, communication is a process. We got this process involves messages. It involves encoding. It involves decoding. Okay, encoding and decoding go together. Coding, what's that? And then N and D, what's that mean? Okay, oh, this transactional model, that's part of the objective. It's one of the objectives to describe the transactional model, right? So, oh, and look, the other one was define communication. Well, communication is, so a process is part of that definition, right? In fact, it's a systemic process in which people send